Right, good morning class. Today's HBL lesson for English is on analyzing visual text for meaning and purpose. Visual text is a component that will appear in your paper 2. It is what we commonly refer to as Complete A. Right, so by the end of today's lesson, you would have learned how images, typography, and text in a poster work together to persuade the viewer to accept this message, and analyzed a poster using what you have learned. Right? So first, let us begin by asking ourselves, what is a visual text? A definition you can probably use, alright, is a visual text is something that combines images and text to convey a certain message to a particular group of people and to persuade them to do something. So, what are some examples of visual texts? They can be posters and advertisements, as well as book covers. They can also be websites, as well as infographics. So now we know what visual texts look like. Let's take a closer look at the features that make up a visual text. So we can begin by looking at text, right? So text refers to words, what meaning they have, and what effect they have on the reader. Text can also refer to heading and subheading. Right? Another feature of text, visual text, is image. So image can come in the form of pictures, graphs, as well as diagrams. In this case, the image takes the form of a question mark, right? Okay, next, the third feature is typography, right? So typography in this case refers to capitalization, bolding, font size and type, font color, as well as italicization. In this case, typography can also be words that take the form of an image. So essentially, it means how the words are presented on a page. Right, so when we examine a visual text, we need to ask ourselves, how do these three elements work together to 1. Identify the target audience that the text is meant for. This can be the elderly, teenagers, or a particular gender. The three elements can also inform the viewer of the message of the text and persuade them to act. Now let's take a closer look at a sample visual text to see how we can apply our analysis to the text to make sense of what it's trying to tell us. So in the following slides, I will show you the steps to analyze a visual text. Right. So we first begin by looking at the text. Right. So we can ask ourselves, who is the text for, and how do I know? How do we go about doing this? Well, we can look for images or text that would call out to particular groups of people. So for instance, over here, the word your reaches out to everyone who views the poster. So we can therefore conclude that the text is meant for the general public. Okay, next, we can ask, what is the main message and how do I know this? Okay, to do this, right, what we can do is to skim the text to understand the gist of its message. Skimming the text means to read the text very quickly, right, to take in the overall meaning of the text, of the visual text. Next, we can scan for keywords that would express the main message. So scan meaning we look for particular words, alright, that we think can tell us what is the main message. So for instance, over here, the sentence, "The environment is in your hands," suggests that the viewer holds the power to do something about the environment. In other words, the environment is everyone's responsibility. Okay, next, we ask ourselves, what, or rather how, do the images, text, and typography of the poster work together to persuade the reader to take action? So remember earlier on, we talk about not looking at the individual features in isolation, but looking at them together to see how they work collaboratively to help us understand the message. Okay, so let's look at the features one by one. We begin with the image, right? So the hands and the arms over here, they are arranged in the shape of a tree. Now we know that the tree is a symbol of the environment. So what we can infer here is that this image tells us we have to pay attention to how our actions affect the environment, and therefore we have to learn to care for the environment. Okay, next we take a look at the words here, specifically the typography, right? How the words are presented visually. So for instance, here the repetition of green brings our attention to both the word, the environment, and your hands. So what this does is it creates a link between the actions of the viewer and the impact on the environment. In other words, this shows that we are responsible, right, for how the environment becomes. Okay, so our environment is in your hands. We hold the responsibility for shaping the environment we live in. Okay, next we look at the font size and the bolding of the font. So basically what this does is it captures our attention and it makes us focus on the message. Right, you know, the message kind of like screams at us. Okay, finally we look at the text, the message in the visual text. So we look at how there is a lot of use of statistics, you know, words like 2/3, 140,000, 400, 220,000 hectares, and so on. Words like scientific words like approximately, estimated, microorganisms, species, ecosystems, as well as the naming of actual places like Canada, Quebec, Ontario, and so on. So all this combines to make the message more objective and seem like it's supported by facts. So what does this do, right, is it convinces the viewer, the reader, that the main message is true, right? In other words, we believe that it is our responsibility to take care of the environment, and therefore we need to act on it. Finally, the last sentence here, right, says the first step to solving this problem is increasing awareness. Okay, what this does is to urge the viewer to share what he has learned with others around him. So this is the action that the viewer has been encouraged or persuaded to take by this visual text. Okay, so right, so this therefore concludes our analysis of this particular visual text. So having gone through this lesson, I'm sure you're all ready to demonstrate your understanding, right, to your teachers. So here is your task. Okay, right, in term 3, the theme in your literature lesson is crime. So therefore, we shall analyze some crime prevention posters. In the given website below, pick one poster from the category General Crime Posters. Alright, and analyze that poster. There are other categories like scam prevention posters and unlicensed money lending posters. Please do not, alright, choose any posters from these two categories below. Okay, so choose one poster from the general crime poster, and then copy and paste that poster into your worksheet. Next, complete the given table by analyzing the poster. In other words, complete your worksheet. Right? And once you're done with that, you can save your work on your desktop first and then upload it into the LMS. Right? Please don't forget to save your work. Okay? You don't want the hard work and the time and effort you put in to go to waste by suddenly discovering that you've lost your worksheet. Alright? So that's all for now, right? This concludes our lesson on visual text. We hope you've had an enjoyable time learning about the various features, and Do come to class and clarify any questions you may have with your teachers. Thank you.